The evening started in the most ordinary way, the kind that usually slips through a person's memory without leaving a mark. But for Emma Hartley, it would become the turning point she never saw coming. She had spent the afternoon cleaning the house, humming softly as she arranged cushions on the living room sofa, thinking about dinner, thinking about Daniel, and thinking about the strange change in him these past weeks. Married for 8 years, she knew the rhythm of her husband's moods. She knew how he looked when he was tired, how he sounded when he was frustrated, and how he acted when something was on his mind. But lately he had been harder to read. Not cold, not distant, just quietly overwhelmed. When her phone buzzed at 4:17 p.m., she wiped her hands on her apron and checked the screen. "Can we have someone over tonight?" That was all the message said. No name. No details. No warning, still. Emma didn't think anything strange. Daniel rarely asked for anything. If he wanted company, she would make it happen. She typed back a simple "sure." Then she started cooking. She didn't know who the guest was, so she plated safe roasted vegetables, warm rolls, and herb chicken. Comfortable, familiar. Not too fancy, not too plain. She even added the little rosemary sprigs she used for special occasions. And though he hadn't asked her to, she set the good dinnerware ones with the blue trim that reminded her of their honeymoon on the coast by 6:30. The house smelled like comfort. By 6:40, she had changed into a soft navy sweater and pinned her hair back. She stood by the window, watching the gray November sky darken earlier than she liked. Daniel was usually home by now. If he was bringing someone from work, she expected a heads up. Maybe he got caught in traffic. Maybe he forgot to mention the name. Maybe he was just tired. But something in her stomach pressed gently, asking her to worry at 7:10. The front door finally opened. Emma wiped her palms on her jeans and turned, with a smile, until she saw who followed him inside. A woman, refined, poised, older than both of them. Maybe early 50s? Silver blonde hair styled neatly, elegant coat that looked like it belonged in a high-end magazine. She had a calm, confident presence, the kind of person who made you instantly aware of how you were standing. "This is Margaret," Daniel said quickly, almost too quickly. "My boss." Boss, not coworker, not colleague. His boss. Emma blinked, surprised but trying not to show it. She stepped forward and offered her hand. "It's so nice to meet you. Welcome." Margaret smiled with warm eyes that held a subtle spark of intelligence. "Thank you for having me, Emma. I hope this wasn't too last minute." "Not at all," Emma said, even though it absolutely was. They removed their coats, and Emma noticed something small but unsettling: the way Daniel seemed almost nervous around his boss. More than respectful. More than polite. Nervous in a way she had never seen him be with anyone. His shoulders were stiff, his movements careful. Dinner began with simple conversation. Emma guided them to the dining table, feeling a faint flutter of pressure in her chest. She wanted tonight to be good, pleasant, smooth. She asked about their day. Margaret answered with quiet humor, talking about the chaos of the office, the endless meetings, the upcoming project that had everyone stressed. Daniel barely spoke. He kept his tone light, but Emma could sense he was watching everything what Margaret said. How Emma reacted, the way the two women interacted. Halfway through dinner, Emma noticed something else. Whenever Margaret talked about work late evenings, deadlines, pressure, Daniel's posture straightened. Not in excitement, but in the way someone reacts when a sensitive topic surfaces. And Margaret would glance at him, sometimes with something that looked like understanding, sometimes like caution, sometimes like concern. Concern? For what? The more Emma listened, the more confused she became. Daniel had mentioned his boss only a few times. He said she was demanding but fair. He never talked about her personally. But now, watching them, Emma sensed there was more to their dynamic than she had realized. Not anything inappropriate, nothing romantic or strange, just a quiet bond that came from shared stress. Long hours, and something deeper she didn't yet understand. When the plates were half empty, Margaret's phone buzzed. She excused herself with a polite smile, stepping outside to take the call. Her voice faded down the hallway, leaving Emma and Daniel alone for the first time that night. The silence between them felt heavier than it should. Emma folded her napkin. "Why didn't you tell me your boss was the one coming?" Daniel swallowed hard. "I didn't want you to stress." "I'm not stressed," she said gently, though her chest said otherwise. "I just would have liked to know." He nodded but didn't look at her. The clock ticked on the wall. The warm kitchen light seemed suddenly too bright. Emma watched Daniel's jaw tighten slightly, then relax. Then tighten again, a sign she hadn't seen in years, not since his father passed away. Stress lived there, in that tiny muscle. "Are you okay?" she asked softly. Daniel gave a small, forced smile. "Yeah, just tired." But Emma wasn't convinced. She wanted to reach for his hand, but before she could, Margaret walked back in. Her expression softened when she saw the two of them, as if she had interrupted something meaningful. Dinner continued, but the atmosphere had shifted. Emma watched carefully now. The way Margaret listened when Daniel spoke. The way Daniel looked relieved when she answered. The way Margaret mentioned a few incidents at work that Emma hadn't known about: late meetings, unexpected responsibilities, decisions that sounded heavier than Daniel ever admitted. Why hadn't he told her? Later, as Emma brought dessert to the table, simple apple crumble, Margaret paused, looking around the dining room. "You've created such a warm home, Emma. I can see why Daniel speaks so highly of you." There it was again. He talked about her. To his boss. Often enough for Margaret to mention it. Emma felt a small warmth in her chest, mixed with confusion. What exactly had Daniel been saying? When Margaret stood to leave, she took Emma's hands gently, like someone delivering a message. "Thank you for having me. This evening meant more than you realize." More than you realize. The words echoed in Emma's mind. After the door closed, Emma and Daniel stood in the quiet hallway. The house felt suddenly too still, too full of unsaid things. Daniel's shoulders dropped in a long exhale, as if he had been holding his breath the entire night. Emma stepped closer. "Daniel, what's going on?" He didn't respond immediately. He walked into the living room, running a hand through his hair. Emma followed, her heartbeat loud in her chest. Something had been building inside him, something he hadn't shared, something that had brought his boss into their home tonight. When he finally looked at her, his eyes were softer than she expected, vulnerable, almost afraid. "Emma," he whispered. "She didn't come here for dinner." Emma froze. "She came because she needed to tell you something about me." The room seemed to tilt. Emma's breath caught. Something about him? Why not tell her himself? Before she could speak, Daniel looked down at his hands. Like the truth weighed too much for him to hold. "I wasn't ready to tell you alone," he said quietly. "That's why she came." Emma felt the air shift between them. Whatever he was hiding wasn't small. It wasn't something like a missed deadline or office drama. It was deeper, personal, heavy. Her voice trembled when she whispered, "Daniel, what is it?" He opened his mouth, then hesitated, the fear in his eyes unmistakable. "I promise I'll tell you everything. But tonight, I just need you to know it's nothing bad. Nothing about us. Just something I should have told you sooner." Emma stared at him, her heart swelling with worry. She wanted to reach out to comfort him, but she also needed to understand, why did she need to tell me? She asked. A long pause. "Too long. Finally," he whispered, "because I couldn't." The words hung in the room, delicate and fragile, like something that might shatter if touched. Emma felt a chill crawl across her skin. She didn't know what truth waited ahead, but she knew one thing with painful clarity. Whatever Daniel had been carrying, it was bigger than she imagined, and tonight had only opened the door. Emma's heart was racing. The soft glow of the living room felt unreal, as if the walls themselves were holding their breath. Daniel stood a few steps away, shoulders slumped. The confident man she knew now, fragile under the weight of something unspoken. She wanted to reach for him, to touch his hand, but she waited, letting the silence stretch, knowing that whatever he was about to say had been hard to carry alone. Finally, He spoke, his voice low, almost breaking. Emma, she didn't come here just for dinner. Emma blinked, confused. Then why? Daniel ran a hand through his hair, pacing slightly. He seemed unsure of how to start, how to put the pieces together. She came. Because she's been helping me, he admitted, voice trembling. Helping him? Emma furrowed her brow. She had imagined countless scenarios, office politics, a promotion, perhaps something personal, but not this. Helping you. How? He looked down, shame flickering across his features. With work. And with me. With my confidence. Lately, I've been close to quitting. The project at work, the pressure. I didn't know if I could handle it. Margaret, she noticed. She's been mentoring me after hours, guiding me, telling me I'm capable. Emma's chest tightened. She had seen him exhausted, restless, quiet in ways she couldn't understand. Nights when he would sit alone on the balcony, staring at the stars as if searching for answers. She had thought he was hiding something from her, perhaps disappointment. Perhaps anger, but now she realized it wasn't about hiding feelings. It was about fear. Fear of admitting weakness. Fear of failing. Fear of losing her trust. You never told me, she said softly, almost a whisper. I didn't want you to think I was weak, he confessed. His voice cracked slightly, revealing more vulnerability than Emma had ever seen. I didn't want you to see me like that. Emma stepped closer. Her hand found his, warm, strong, yet slightly trembling. Daniel, I would never think that. You don't have to be strong all the time. I just want you to be honest with me. He let out a shaky laugh, almost like a release of months of tension. I know. I wasn't ready. Emma squeezed his hand. Then start now. Tell me everything. He exhaled, looking into her eyes as if searching for the courage to share. Margaret, she's retiring next month, and she recommended me for her position. Emma's eyes widened. Her position, Daniel, that's huge. I know, he whispered, and that's why she came tonight. She wanted to meet you first. She wanted to see the person I come home to, the person who supports me. She said she wouldn't feel comfortable recommending me if she didn't know I had someone by my side who understands me, keeps me grounded. Emma felt a swell of emotion. Relief, pride, surprise all together. The woman who had seemed intimidating, almost untouchable, hadn't come to judge her or intrude on their marriage. She had come to ensure that Daniel had the support he needed for a challenge that mattered immensely to him. Emma, I was scared you'd think she was here for the wrong reasons, Daniel admitted. I didn't want you to misunderstand. Emma shook her head. No, Daniel. I understand now. She came because she wanted the best for you. For us, he looked at her with eyes softening. Vulnerability and love mingling in a way that made her chest ache. I was afraid you'd be disappointed. Or worried. I didn't want to burden you with my insecurities. Emma's lips curved into a gentle smile. You're not a burden. Not ever. I want to be here for you, the good and the hard parts. Daniel exhaled again, this time with a sense of release. The tension in his shoulders began to ease. Margaret. She saw the parts of me I hide even from myself. She knows I'm afraid sometimes. Afraid of failing. Afraid of not being enough. And she said I needed someone beside me who loves me, who understands me, before I take the next step. Emma felt tears prick her eyes, not of sadness, but of connection, of love, of the quiet realization that her husband had been carrying a heavy load alone. She sat down beside him on the sofa, her hand still holding his. Daniel, I see you, and I always have. You don't need to hide from me. His eyes glistened as he met hers. I thought I had to. I thought showing fear, showing weakness, would make you see me differently. But Margaret, she reminded me that love isn't about perfection. It's about honesty and courage. Courage to show you everything, even the parts I'm ashamed of. Emma leaned closer, resting her head on his shoulder. Then show me everything. I'm here. I've always been here, and I always will be. They sat in silence for a moment, the leftover dishes from dinner untouched on the table. Outside, the wind whispered through the trees, the November chill brushing against the windows. Inside, the warmth of their home wrapped around them, cocooning them in quiet intimacy. Daniel shifted slightly, still holding her hand. Margaret. She believed in me when I couldn't. She believed I could step up. She believed I could do more than Servawa could thrive. And she wanted me to know that I'm not alone, that I have someone who trusts me, someone who loves me, beside me every step of the way. Emma lifted her head, brushing her fingers across his cheek. Daniel, I trust you. I love you. And I see everything you do, even the struggles you hide. His lips curved into a small, tentative smile. I thought I had to carry this alone. But tonight, seeing how she treated you, seeing her respect you, seeing the way she believed I had a strong foundation at home, I realized I don't have to be alone. I have you. And that changes everything. Emma felt a wave of relief wash over her. She had worried, yes. She had imagined misunderstandings, unspoken tensions, maybe even resentment. But none of that was true. What had felt tense, strange, and confusing earlier had a purpose. Margaret's visit wasn't a threat, was a bridge. A way for Daniel to feel safe enough to share his fears and ambitions. You don't need to be afraid, she whispered. Not with me. Never. He leaned back slightly, exhaling deeply, as if the weight of months of doubt and exhaustion was finally lifting. I thought success would impress you. I thought achievement would make you love me more. But tonight, I realized it's the honesty, the trust, the support we give each other that matters most. Emma smiled, brushing his hair back from his forehead. That's all I've ever wanted. To share this life with you. Through everything, stress, challenges, victories, fears, everything. They sat together, hand in hand, the soft hum of the city outside their window fading into quiet. Daniel's eyes, once tense and guarded, now reflected warmth, relief, and love. He finally realized that he didn't need to hide any part of himself from her. That vulnerability wasn't a weakness. It was part of the trust and intimacy that had built their marriage over the years. I don't know how I ever thought I had to do it alone, he said softly. I see now that you were here the whole time, even when I was too distracted to notice it. Emma shook her head gently. You were carrying more than you had to, and it's okay to lean on me. That's what partners do. He let out a small laugh, light and freeing, as if the sound carried away weeks of tension. I never realized how much fear I had. Fear of failing you, fear of letting you down. You can't fail in love, Emma replied. Not with me. I've got you, always. Daniel pulled her closer, the warmth of the sofa wrapping around them like a blanket. I don't know what I would have done without Margaret tonight. But I know now. I have everything I need right here. He tapped gently over his heart. You, us, and the trust we share. Emma felt tears well up again, but this time they were tears of understanding, connection, and quiet joy. You don't have to prove yourself to anyone, least of all me. I love you for who you are. The struggles, the fears, the triumphs. All of it. Daniel rested his forehead against hers. I'm lucky, so lucky. And tonight, I finally understand why I brought her here. Not for you to judge, not for you to feel threatened, but to show you the truth and to remind me that I'm not alone. Emma smiled softly, brushing her fingers over his cheek. And the truth is enough. Always enough. That's love, Daniel. It's messy, it's vulnerable, but it's real. Outside, the November wind rustled leaves across the quiet street. But inside, the living room glowed with warmth, love, and the shared understanding that sometimes the hardest moments lead to the strongest connections. Daniel held her hand a little tighter, feeling the bond they had strengthened tonight. And Emma leaned into him, feeling the same. They didn't need words anymore. The silence spoke volumes, their hearts in sync, their trust deepened. Their love reaffirmed on in that quiet living room, surrounded by the aftermath of an ordinary dinner. Emma finally understood. Daniel hadn't brought his boss to dinner to impress her. He had brought her to reveal his heart, to give them both a chance to see. truly see each other, and that moment, fragile yet powerful, would linger in their memories long after the dishes were washed, long after the door had closed on Margaret's visit, long after the city lights faded. Because some truths once shared can change everything, and tonight everything had changed.